April Fools in the gaming industry is a fun-ass time. Unlike most creative industries or businesses, the gaming industry has had a history of announcing hoax game releases, products, or news articles. It's fake news that doesn't harm society. Wrap your head around that shit. It's nice to know that while the whole industry is a trash fire right now, we can occasionally enjoy a laugh between hearing about people getting laid off or crunched to death. These pranks are generally easy to spot a mile away, but there are some out there that make some high quality pranks. One such group is everybody's 7 out of 10 gaming site, IGN. Some highlights include the iPlay, ultra-violent Smash Brothers, and the live-action Zelda movie. This year, they gave us a trailer for the Virtual Boy Pro for Nintendo Switch. Despite it being well produced, it was an obvious prank because Nintendo already had VR of one of the Labo kids. That and the Virtual Boy is the black sheep of all Nintendo consoles. You know, even though that thing was an ill-conceived mess, there are a handful of interesting games that could easily be classics if not for being bound to the Virtual Boy. I can think of about 5. Here's my list of the top 5 Virtual Boy games that need to be remastered. Number 5. Mario Clash. Mario Clash is basically the Mario Brothers arcade game, but with depth of field. Instead of everything being on one plane, you must jump between the foreground and the background by the warp pipes on the sides of the screen. You can throw shells across the planes or just throw them through the pipes to reach the other side. The basic premise is to clear each of the 99 levels by defeating all enemies. What happens at the end? Nothing. This is an arcade-ass game through and through. It plays well and is fun, but playing only for a high score isn't going to go over too well in this era. The later levels add some things, but not enough to give Mario Clash any depth. It's just fun enough to make it at the bottom of this list. Number 4. Vertical Force. On paper, Vertical Force is a shmup game with a gimmick where you swap between planes to complete the level. This means that the actions your enemies take will change depending on what altitude you're at. Obviously, this affects you too, as you can only shoot enemies that are on the same plane that you're on. Vertical Force has one more gimmick besides the altitude switch. It's this little thing they call AI drones. AI drones are small machines that aid you throughout the game. There are 3 types that serve different functions. They can level up and become more useful as the game goes on. They aren't invincible though, as they can take damage, but fear not. You can always put them in reserve to get repaired over time. Or you can just destroy one outright and destroy all enemies on the screen. Do you, boo-boo. Do you. It may not be as fondly remembered as Ikaruga, Gradius, or Radiant Silvergun, but I think it deserves its time in the sun all the same. Number 3. Teleroboxer. Teleroboxer is what happens when you combine Punch-Out with Battle Clash to make a pretty awesome boxing game? Or is it a fighting game? Perhaps it's both. Who the fuck knows? In this game, you control Harry the Fighting Mech and pit him against a series of opponents as you climb your way up to the championship ladder. There's a decent amount of moves you can pull off, as you can see. You can juke past jabs and throw about 4 types of punches on each arm. It's way more depth than you would expect, but nowhere near the amount you would hope for. Teleroboxer's greatest sins are the fact that it's a single-player game and the fact that the rest of the roster is non-playable. Well, I guess it makes it more like Punch-Out than anything. There's not much to this one. Once you get the hang of things, you can plow through this at the same time it takes for you to finish an episode of Martin. If it was remade today, it would have more sauce for sure. The core concept is strong enough, and Nintendo probably won't touch Punch-Out again anytime soon. Maybe they could do something with it. Maybe it could be the next Thunder Ray. Number 2. Virtual Boy Wario Land. Wario platformers have always had a different vibe than Mario's. There was always more of an emphasis on action and collecting treasure than challenging jumps. This title follows that rule more so than any other on this list, as it's solely about combat and treasure. Here's how. The basic premise is that Wario enters a cave to try and snag some treasure from the inside. Of course, he's not the only one after it, and conflict ensues. Beat all 14 levels to complete the game. It sounds straightforward, but it's a bit more complicated than you would expect. What you may not expect playing Wario Land for the first time is how important it is to collect the coins. To beat a level, you need to get enough coins to open the elevator that will give you access to the next level. These levels are more like floors in a building, as there's no world map or goalpost sign at the end of the level. Everything is seamlessly tied together, so if you're on level 6 and you need to go back to level 2, you'll need to make the trek yourself by walking all the way back. This may not be so bad on paper, but what ending you get is directly tied to how fast you beat the game, how many coins you acquired, what difficulty you played on, and if you got all the treasure. There is some replay value to be had here by having extra conditions added on top of just completing the game. It's one of the best games on the system and one that deserves to be released from the Virtual Boy jail. Number 1. Jack Brothers. Did you know that the first time the West got its hands on anything Shin Megami Tensei, it was in this game? If this motherfucker didn't give it away, then I don't know what to tell you. Jack Brothers is a spin-off from the main SMT series, where you play as Jack Frost, his less popular brother Pyro Jack, and the eternally forgotten Jack Ripper, who, according to the wiki, hasn't reappeared in the games for several years. Your objective is to make your way out of the real world and back to yours before Halloween night ends. I hope you like racing the clock, cause like it or not, you're speedrunning this shit. There are 6 stages you need to beat under a strict time limit. Each stage has you going down multiple floors. To make it down each floor, you must collect enough keys to unlock the way. You get keys by defeating enemies, and you keep doing this until you reach the boss at the end of the stage. Do this 6 times and you win, but there's a catch. Your health is your time limit, and every time you take a hit from an enemy or a trap, you lose time. Run out of time, and it's game over. It sounds simple, but there's some stuff to chew on here. Each brother has different attributes, meaning nobody plays quite like the other. The traps and enemies get tougher as you progress, but you have some items to help you along the way. But say if you get unlucky and fail a level, there's a password system in place to pick up where you left off. Honestly, it feels like a mystery dungeon game without all the roguelike elements, so why is it ranked higher than Wario Land? Because it's rare, expensive, and put on a console Nintendo doesn't give a shit about. Made by a publisher that rarely, if ever, re-releases or remakes anything from their back catalog. Fuck, we can't even get the first 2 Persona games on modern consoles, and Persona is Atlus's baby. I don't know about you, but I don't want to pay damn near $700 for a loose copy of a game. I'll be perfectly honest, I have no hope of any of the shit I was talking about here today being re-released in any way, shape, or form. I guess if we want to experience any of these classics today, it'll have to be on original hardware. Well, that's all I have for today. Mostly because this is the format of my show, that and the Virtual Boy library is like 12 games deep.